Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This video is a little bit dark right now because of my location. I'm actually in my car today, but I'm in a location that I can't really disclose where I am, but it is dark. But I guess you can still see me well enough. So I wanted to make this video today and even in this location, not specifically because of the location, but just because I'm just kind of sitting here waiting for something and I have a little bit of free time. Sorry I haven't put out a video too recently because in the wintertime my schedule gets really tied up and I don't tend to have a lot of free time in the winter to do much of anything. So I'm taking advantage of this moment to do this. So first of all, thank you all of you who have subscribed and liked in my channel. I'm very grateful to you guys because it's so important and I really appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. You're probably noticing that I'm wearing a different headset today. These are also by S-Rhythm. I got these recently because I do need to have several different pairs of headsets because I have to wear them all the time. So these are my newest ones that I just got. I like S-Rhythm because they're relatively inexpensive and they work pretty well. So I'm not paid by them at all. I'm not, actively advertising for them, but they just happen to be the ones that I wear the most. So I thought I'd just throw that out there for you guys who are looking for good headsets that work relatively well, that are very inexpensive. So today I want to talk about recognition, and specifically facial recognition. Facial recognition is something that a lot of people who are autistic do struggle with. It's also called face blindness, and I believe there is an actual clinical term for it. I just don't remember what it is. So what this means is that we don't easily recognize people's faces. I have a friend who is autistic, who is also an adult, and he has no ability to visualize at all. Like, he can't make a mental picture in his mind at all. It's just not, that doesn't exist in him. And so he can't recognize people by what they look like. The way he recognizes people is by how they move. I also struggle with recognizing people's faces, but not necessarily as much as other autistic people. I have heard some autistic people say that looking at faces to them is kind of like just looking at a bunch of weird pixels, and they can't differentiate the features and they can't really tell what it is they're looking at. I remember one autistic gentleman on the autism forum that I belong to said that every time his daughter would send pictures home from college about her and her friends, he would have to ask his wife which one of them is our daughter, because he could not recognize her at all because he doesn't recognize faces. I can kind of recognize faces sometimes, like if I know someone really intimately, but I have a very difficult time recognizing most people, especially if they are out of context. And I also don't always use facial recognition to recognize people. Sometimes I will recognize them by the way that they stand or the way that they walk or the clothing or even the haircut. So there are some people that if they cut their hair or if they shave, their beards or something, I have no ability to know who they are. Or if I see them out of context, I cannot recognize them at all. Some people, even if I see them in context, I truly have no ability to recognize them. So I ask people to tell me who they are when they see me, and just kind of make that a general rule of thumb. Some people, it even gets to where if I have seen them sitting down, I can't recognize them if they stand up or something like that, or if they change their position. So that can be tricky as well. Sorry about that, guys. I had to stop the video for a moment because I needed to answer a question from the person who is doing what they're doing. So anyway, as I paused the video, I did look up the technical word for face blindness. It is prosopagnosia. I think. I should look at it again, but I think that's what it is. Anyway, so as I was saying, there are times when I might have only known someone sitting down. Let's say I walk into an office of one of my doctors, and the receptionist, I've only known her sitting down in a chair. If I see her and she's not sitting down, like if she's standing up and moving around, I might not be able to recognize her because she's in a very different position from what I have always known her in. So it can even get as specific as that. But why is it so important to understand how facial recognition can affect us? Well, one of the reasons is that when you're unable to recognize people, even people that you know, even people that you might even be close to, it can be very, very scary. It can be very terrifying. And one of the reasons that is that many autistic people are very bullied and very traumatized in their lives. And a lot of us get bullied on a regular basis. And one of the types of bullying that people are not as familiar with, like people are familiar with physical bullying, the types of bullying that we're not allowed to mention on YouTube, and all kinds of different things that involve the physical body. What a lot of people don't realize is that there is such a thing called social bullying, where you are bullied socially. And there are things such as social predators, who are people who seek socially vulnerable people in order to try to bully them and hurt them. And these people do exist, and there are probably more of them out there than people realize. And the other issue is that there are people who are not specifically social predators, but who do have a sense of social entitlement. And they will also latch on to anyone who does not have social defenses and who is very socially vulnerable. And they will manipulate that person and bully that person and socially abuse that person. And a lot of this type of bullying is done without the person who is bullying even realizing that they're doing it. So even if they're not doing it on purpose, they can still be very abusive. So if it's not possible, or if it's very difficult for an autistic person who has no social defenses, if it's very difficult for that person to recognize people, they can't always tell, that person can't always tell if the person coming up to them has bullied them before, or is someone who bullies them regularly, or is someone who is abusive to them. And that's a very dangerous and very scary situation. I've often asked people to just be considerate and just say, hey, you know what? I know you don't recognize me. Every time I come up to you, I ask people, just tell me who you are. Just say, hey, I'm so and so from ski team, or I'm so and so from, horse riding, or whatever. And honestly, I don't think that's too much to ask. But very, very few people will do that for me. And I've actually had situations where I have had people come up to me and I've said to them, I'm sorry, I don't recognize you because I don't have good facial recognition. And they respond by saying, yeah, we know, you tell us all the time. And I'm like, well, then why don't you just tell me who you are? And that would make things so much easier and safer and make the interaction less stressful. I've also had people say to me, well, it's okay that you don't recognize people because people don't necessarily mind. And I had to explain to this person, or these people, I had to tell them, it's not about the fact that you don't mind that I don't recognize you. It's about the fact that if I don't know who you are and you're talking to me as if we have this intimate friendship, it's very scary. And it's really important that I know whom I am talking to. Because I don't know if you've abused me or hurt me or bullied me or if you're that person. So this is something that I hope that non-autistic people will really take the time to consider and to just take the extra 2 seconds to just say, you know what, I understand this person's autistic, this person has a hard time recognizing. Let me just say, hey, yeah, it's me, so-and-so from whatever. It's no effort on a neurotypical's part to do that. And the kind of anxiety that can relieve and the kind of fear that can relieve can really help the social interaction go so much better. So hopefully this will give you something to think about and talk about, and hopefully people will just start being kind and just realizing that if they just remind us who they are, it's not a big deal, and it will just make everything so much better. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.